Billy Gasparino, former Cowboy standout and a member of our Hall of Honor. For sure, but we've had Billy on before. He's a director of amateur scouting for the Los Angeles Dodgers. We're taking you out to L.A. as we speak. And, Billy, first of all, congratulations, man. The whole organization can celebrate this one.
Yeah, no doubt. Thank you. Pretty special experience. A lot of contributors. The way it all came together in a kind of a weird, strange year, wasn't quite sure how it was going to feel. And I can tell you, it feels really cool, really special.
You said it was a lot different than you thought it was going to be, and it seemed like the Dodgers were just in a fist fight every time they turned around. They had to come back off the deck time and time again. But hey, was it 32 years now? It all feels good.
Yeah.
And what I wanted to get the point across, starting in your area, but there are a lot of people other than those in the dugout that we focus on that have a lot to do with the championship.
It really is. Like, you start to really look at it from, the minor leagues, our player development coaches, our strength and conditioning guys, trainers, and even in the office from, an R&D, research and development standpoint, and sports performance. There's so many, different little departments that combine on how to get these results. And it really takes almost everyone performing at a high level, or you can really get out of whack, or you can just come up a little short.
I got to ask you truthfully, when the plans came down for this, the way it was going to happen, bubbling and playing it at neutral sites and all, I mean, did you think that MLB could pull this off from start to finish? Because, quite frankly, it seems like they get an A for what they did.
They should. I mean, because I can't remember what week it was exactly, but, it was a couple weeks after the draft, and it just had started, and I think the Cardinals or the Marlins, I forget which order, but I think it was Marlins and Cardinals, and you're just the pessimistic in me came. It's there's just no way. How are we going to do this? And kind of having that, kind of gut-wrenching feeling, knowing, at least for us, we thought it was our best team we've had, wanting to see him perform and kind of play it out, and then knowing that this season could be over almost in, any week, one more team or two more teams that go down, and this thing's over.
People in the state of Oklahoma, Tulsa, Oklahoma City, obviously, are feeling a kinship here with you guys in L.A. because your AA, AAA teams are here. And some of these young stars on the Dodgers that we've got to see this last couple of months kind of got their start and ended up moving up the ranks from here. But going back on your side of the ledger, take us back to some of the early discussions about some of these young guys that you have on the roster now that you guys had before they became stars.
Yeah, it's really cool to see how it works out now, because I think even as you're going through it, you're hopeful, but you're being realistic. So take someone like Will Smith, who, pretty good college player, kind of contact skills, not a lot of power. We like the athlete, and then you see him make swing changes, and then maybe, go a little too far and strike out too much in the minor leagues, and then figure out how to make it work and make more contact. And then as he develops in the major leagues and goes through some growing pains there, and then all of a sudden you look up and you're like, oh my, this guy's, one of the best catchers in Major League Baseball. And it's a really cool, a little bit of a roller coaster ride, but a really cool kind of cycle to it.
Anybody that came out of the minors, you can go back to the beginning when you guys were looking at these lists of college, for crying out loud, and saying, we got to have this guy. We got to put him in the system, see how quickly he can make his way. But anybody that came off that route that is now part and parcel of that lineup that not surprised you, but that you're proud of?
Yeah, I mean, I'm proud of a lot of guys. And maybe, I think maybe the number one maybe surprised or proud of is actually on the mound, the guy who started last night, Tony Gonsolin.
Really?
Yeah, just because, it was such an unusual story and path because, ninth rounder, we gave him 2,500. He was an outfielder that just pitched a little bit. And then you give him the first season, and he's tired, and he's trying to convert to a full-time pitcher, and he's going to 80, 89. And then you just see how the next 3 years with really, wonderful development ideas and process, and Tony kind of having great makeup and learning, so much so fast in a craft he really didn't know. and then you see him on the mound last night, and even though it wasn't like his best outing, just the overall experience that where he went from like a college senior outfielder, pitched a little bit to like starting Game 6 of the World Series is pretty special.
Billy, Patrick Wheeler here. Let me take you into the action a little bit last night, because I need to know if your reaction was the same as the rest of the Dodgers here whenever you see Blake Snell dominating the way he was, and Kevin Cash gave up a hit, second hit, got to pull him. Was your reaction like everyone else in that Dodgers dugout with a big smile on your face and, oh, here we go, that's what we needed right there?
It really was. I mean, I have this rule where I only can like either like applaud or criticize once the move's made, because it's always easier in hindsight. So, yeah. But I sent a few texts out right away. I was like, oh my God, I this is the break we needed. Because he was that dominated, and I went this morning and looked at some of the statistical breakdowns of like there's never been a pitcher that dominant in a start by any metric you look at that get taken out that early. So
wow,
there were some stats to back it up just how dominant he was.
When you played here and somewhat in the minor leagues and started making your way up, I don't know that we had just analytics for just as soon as you got to the park, how many steps you take, when you sit, all that. It gets a little crazy. But are you an analytics guy, or are the Dodgers strictly an analytics team, or is there some common sense that moves in here every once in a while?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's where there's probably a little misconception of us just being all analytics. I really think we're a really good blend. It's a lot of common sense mixed in with good information, and I think people throw around the analytics word a little too much when we're just kind of using information that we think can help us make good decisions. And I think the leaders at the top, Andrew Friedman and Dave Roberts, are really good at it. So we're a blend here, kind of proud of it, and I think it shows sometimes in our moves and our success.
I got to ask you a last couple of things here before we let you get back to work, but obviously the addition of Mookie Betts, game in and game out, probably pays off. But when he's needed to step up and do something big, either in the field or at the bat or on running bases or whatever, that guy was worth every penny that you're paying him.
No doubt. I mean, and that's where I don't think he makes it look so easy that I don't think people realize how good he is, because he, when you have that contract and that salary kind of hanging over your head and not letting it affect your performance and not letting it just affect your mindset. He's been incredible, man. I marvel at him both as a person and a player.
Help me out a little bit now as we get ready to close this out with Billy Gasparino. But take me where we're going with the draft when it comes around again. Virus notwithstanding, are we going to have a reduced number of rounds? Does that mean there'll be a reduced number of amateurs that join the Dodgers and everybody else? Where are we going with this thing next year?
Yeah, I think as we stand now, and listen, I think we've all learned that lesson this year. Anything can change or happen, but right now they're playing on, and it's already been agreed upon, at least 20 rounds and up to 30 rounds. So there is a range of rounds we're going to have. They did push it back, the draft back to mid-July. As a more of a long-term goal of combining it with the change in the minor leagues. We still don't know exactly what the minor leagues are going to look like next year, but I think we're going to have 4 full season teams. A lot of people saying either like a late start or some kind of partial season, or at the very worst, like some kind of like instructional league setting where you're like your best 40 prospects just stay local and play against the other spring training teams. And then in terms of like amateur and draft, Josh Holiday would probably be a better source, but I think they're going to play some kind of conference schedule. Like it may not be 50-something games, but I would expect like 30 to 40 and maybe trying to minimize travel and something this year. So I'm pretty hopeful as we move along that we'll be able to figure out something.
Billy, let me kind of take you back to the analytics really fast, because I think that you mentioned there with Dave Roberts, and I think it might be almost the complete opposite what we saw last night. Dave Roberts didn't buy into the analytics all that much and use that to determine what he wanted to do in that game, because they probably would have told him to stick with Kenley Jansen, right? And instead he relied on Julio. And I think that's more of something that comes from Dave Robertson, a gut type decision. He knows who the hot hand is, who his guy is. But is it possible to you that we saw maybe, two sides of the spectrum there? A guy in Kevin Cash who completely bought in, and it possibly cost him a World Series, or at least an attempt at one. And then on the other side, Dave Roberts going with his gut, and it actually works out. Now he is a World Series champion.
Yeah, I mean, it definitely kind of looks like that on the surface. I mean, I don't want to speculate too much, because there's always so many unknowns or variables. Unless you're in that dugout and kind of know all the information, it's hard to completely know. But it definitely came across like that a little bit. And, to be fair to Julio, he pitched great. So, and he's pitched great all postseason. So, it might have been as simple as, he's pitching great. The analytics say he's pitching great. And Doc wanted to, ride the momentum of that combination. I feel bad. Those guys are, tough decisions. And, the information leans one way, your eyes are saying something else, how to blend it together. It's not easy, man. I give those guys a lot of credit, and I guess that's why they earn the big bucks.
You're probably glad that they finished second, but it's how ironic that Gasparino's from Tampa and you be playing there.
Yeah.
Were you a Rays fan at any time in your career, or what?
Not really. I mean, I'm going to sound old here, but, growing up, they weren't around when I grew up.
That's right, they were not.
And so I was actually a Mets fan, because my family was from New York and they were on, WWOR all the time, or so
yeah.
I was a huge Mets fan, and the Rays kind of just I'd never timed with me living there.
It seemed ironic that you'd be having to battle up the hometown anyway for a world championship.
Yeah, it was. It was at least all my friends back home were. I got a lot of interesting texts, that's for sure.
Hey, last thing, you're going to be making it back here anytime soon, or your schedule going to permit that?
I hope so. I did come back about it's about 2 months ago, and I was able to see the new stadium, and Josh and Kyle Waters gave me a little tour, and wow, I mean, I can't wait to get back and see a game there. It just looks unbelievable. I was more than impressed.
Well, I would assume that since Tulsa and Oklahoma City still going to stay in the rotation as far as your AA, AAA affiliates, to your knowledge.
Yep. Yeah, we're going to keep those too. So we're lucky. We'll have plenty of Oklahoma ties still.
All right, good deal. Well, when you get back here, let me know. Appreciate your time as always, and congratulations once again. Wear that ring. At least send me a picture of the ring when you get it, or whatever it is.
All right, I will. Thanks, guys.
All right, thanks,
have
buddy.
A good one.
Yeah, you too.